the new boys here, so I am. So forgive me for not being up to speed with every regulation going. But as Richard said, I've been working with building control for the last 6 months, and I'm in Mayo County Council for the last 21 years. So just moving on here, this is primarily what I'm looking out for in building control is the one-off bills. This is what I have on my premises at the moment, approximately about 70, 75 buildings, and they've all been inspected between 2 and 5 times in this time period. So my keynote on this is the importance of getting out on site early for inspections. So the first site I'm going here on was a cut and fill site where the granular fill on the site was pulled across and levelled. Organic matter wasn't removed, and there was no sign of SR21. So the action was to get Section 11 out and get the owner to engage in an engineer for possible solutions. So as you can see here from the first slide, the ground is approximately 1.5 meters over the organic fill. The edge of the raft would be roughly sitting around there, and this would have been where it was cut from the side of the hill. This is just looking at it from a different angle. You can see kind of a silty kind of type ground and loosely compacted. And once again, there's the ground where it was cut from. The solution was to dig down to solid hardcore across the whole perimeter of where the raft was going to sit, get in an SR21 certified stone and compact it in layers. And I was there just last week, and this is the raft put in place. And what I'm saying is, if you arrived on the site last week without seeing the groundwork that was put in beforehand, you wouldn't know the amount of work that went in underneath the foundations. So moving on to the next slide, and site number 2 was a raft which had honeycombing in a number of sections. So as you can see here, visible rebar and honeycombing in the raft. Once again, we have it here. So our action on this again was a Section 11 to the owner, and to get his engineer to come up with a plan on how this will be rectified. The plan that was to patch drill tests and drill in horizontally to ensure that the honeycomb hadn't went further into the raft, fill the holes, clear out the holes, fill them with concrete, and put these galvanized steel plates and bolt them in 300 millimeters into the side of the raft. And that was the solution. Once again, if I arrived on the site once the block work had started, wouldn't have seen the issues that was with the raft. This would be a site from a science certifier, which was an apartment complex being built. So as we all say, everything is opt-outs, but we also find issues as well with roles where science certifiers are put in. So this was, so we had no T0 sand binding under the raft, and the mounds are built directly on top of it as well with no binding. We had a tracking machine going back and over on the radon membrane. As you can see here, direct track marks onto it, and we had visible tear marks. So once again, Section 11 was sent out on this site, and the science certifier said that what they will do is they'll fit a second radon membrane under the subfloor and to carry out radon tests after that. So this is a 2-story garage, and you may ask, why do we do inspections on a garage? The commencement notice came in for a 2-story garage, and we informed the owner that they needed a fire cert if they were going to go ahead with this. So they changed the commencement notice for this as a 1-story, but we had our ideas that they were still going to continue on with the 2-story. So that was, as you'll see, was least of the problem. So fair enough, it is a 2-story garage. We had a RSJ running the perimeter of the building with the joisting sitting into it, sitting on noggins. None of these were fixed to the RSJ at all, so they were just sitting in free air. That's just a different angle looking at it again. When we looked at what was going to be the upstairs, there was no triangulation of supports in any part of the roof at all. So the roof wasn't loaded yet at this stage, but you can only imagine what's going to happen once weight was put on it. So this was once again sent out to Section 11, This is ongoing, so we haven't got a resolution to this yet, but we're looking for a full roof design on this from a qualified engineer. So this was quite a straightforward issue. It was means of escape from a bedroom. So you're looking at lockable windows here. So contact was from email on this just to get the locks changed to button type mechanism openings. The window itself was just 500 millimeters, but as you can see with the opening, it opened up into approximately 1/3 of the window. So the solution to this was to fit the correct type of hinges that stops repeating the opening. And this is probably one of the most common things I come across on sites in the area. Maybe about 6 out of 10 buildings is using slates to prop RSJs. So as you can see here, so these weren't mortared in, so I could see that there were slates underneath them. And the solution is quite simple, is to use steel shims and then to mortar them in afterwards. And that's my few slides from what I found in Mayo so far. I'll pass on to Donal. Thank you.
Thanks. So our next Chief Fire Officer, Donal, is a qualified civil engineer and worked as a before joining Mayo Fire Service. He's new to building, bringing in for no accurate turn, so I'm sure. Put you on to conclude that presentation.
Thanks very much, Richard. Just to get on myself, I suppose I'm new to building control, same as the last 9 months. Fire prevention and operations. So I'd be fairly familiar with doing inspections under the building control, our fire safety certificate inspections, and under the Fire Services Act 1981 and 2003. So I think I'll just skip through Joe's there quickly, get on to my one. So the building, refugee accommodation centre, which was being built in Mayo. So the building as a CCC. So the that prior to us joining, so we done a risk-based selection. It was a high-risk building, occupants in the building, the purpose group of the building. So we decided to carry out an inspection at CCC stage. So the inspection of a refugee accommodation centre. So the certificate of compliance submitted, fire safety certificate was granted for the building. No certificate had been applied for at the time of inspection, and accommodation 250 people, 73 number bedrooms, both on the ground floor and first floor. So and the design certifier was with me. And just to give you a bit about, it was an existing industrial building in an industrial site, and the fire safety certificate was for change of use, and the building was being used for Ukrainian refugees. So it meant that didn't have to comply or didn't have to apply for planning permission, but it had to comply with the building control regulations. So it needed a fire safety certificate, a DAC, CCC, etc., and all the associated certificates with that. So the issues I found, this is the ground. So you'll see here, that's the entrance here into the building. In here you have recreational area. At the back you have laundrette, kitchen and storeroom. In here is your canteen area or your dining area. And then over this side of your building, you have a protected corridor running right through, and your bedrooms off it. Different occupants in different bedrooms, ranging from 2, 4, 6, 8 in different rooms. The original fire safety certificate had a playroom here. When we inspected it, it didn't have that playroom. There was a few material alterations carried out. It had, then up on the first floor, it has 4 protected stairwells as means of escape. So it was fairly well serviced as protected escape routes. You had protected corridors running right through, cross corridor doors, 30-minute fire doors onto each bedroom, and all your bedrooms in are after your protected corridors. Sanitary facilities on the ground and first floor, and unisex WC also on the ground floor existing. So when we carried out an inspection on the ground floor, there was a number of material alterations highlighted there in hatched out that we found during our inspection from the original fire safety certificate. There was new bedrooms put in here where you had a playroom originally on the fire cert. You had a new reception area there installed, some changes to the storerooms and bedrooms in there. Also on the first floor, we have extra bedrooms installed off the protected corridor, which was a deviation from the existing fire safety certificate. So this is what we found when we inspected the building. So that's the existing WC. As you can see there from the picture, it wouldn't comply with your Part M compliance. Your distance from the centre is greater than 500, number of handrails missing, etc. So they've done some work on it to make it comply. It's not fully yet in compliance. There's some handrails missing, etc. on it. They've applied for a DAC as well for the building. So that's on our desk at the minute. That's the toilet door. No handrail on it. They had a little keypad thing on it here for gaining access into it. And they also had the door opening outwards onto the protected corridor, impinging on the escape route. So they're rectifying that at the minute. The protected escape stairs at the rear of the building. Issues we found with that was the garden here on your railings. No garden, so kids. There's a large number of kids and families in these buildings. So you could have kids wandering into this protected stairs and climbing up there. Detrimental. No nosings on your stairwells. Your stairwells were greater than a metre, so you required an extra second handrail on it. So you had Part M issues, you had Part B issues, Part K issues on your protected stairwells, especially the two escape stairs to the rear. Send me in a picture the next day or a couple of days after saying this is the garden to put up, but it's combustible material, MDF. So I said get that off fairly quickly. So you're not allowed any combustible materials in your protected stairwells. It's an escape route. So they've installed a handrail there on the right hand side, and that's it going down the stairs. They had 2 existing lifts in the building. They weren't recommissioned, so I'm getting these lifts to be recommissioned and provide certification for them. And that'll be part of the DAC as well. Some fire stopping issues in relation to some of the storerooms. There's no smoke detector installed here. They've installed it now. They have an L1 fire detection and alarm system to IS 3218. However, that means you have detection basically everywhere in your voids, etc. But they were missing some of the smoke detectors in certain storerooms. There's a requirement as well under Part B to have openable windows in your protected stairwells or 1 square metre openable vents. Here in this one, they had an openable window, and we found that there was a lot of children moving in and out here, and there's no restrictors on the window. Now, I know the regulations mightn't say it, we require them in protected stairwells, but we looked at the health and safety of these occupants, so we decided that we put restrictors on the windows to stop kids falling out, climbing up and that. So that was it done there. That one is a cross corridor door where we found that the width of the door was, it's a requirement under Part M to have a clear openable width of 800 for wheelchair access. This one has 660 between when you had opened one leaf, so they're rectifying that. Storerooms, no closers on them. This is a kind of chemical room where they held all the combustible, say, chemicals and that. So it should be enclosed in fire resistant enclosure, 30 minutes, which your door closes on your fire door, etc. This one, fire smoke seals missing on your door, on your frame, on your door frame here. Your intermittent strip went across on top, all right, and down the other side, but they're missing it on this side here. This one was a new bedroom closer. Some of the they were missing some closes on some of the bedrooms, and they installed this one, but they screwed it into the architrave, which wouldn't comply with regulations. So they have to change all of them. The other thing we found was some housekeeping issues in relation to, you can see like it's computers, desk in your protected escape route, protected corridor. Combustible material is not allowed in protected corridor, so we got them to remove them out of there, and they installed them down the recreation on the ground floor along the wall there, so that's fine. Other things we found was combustible chairs in your protected corridor. So these are a no-no, because if they goes on fire, all your corridor is gone, smoke cloud. So we've got them to remove them. Also, you could climb up on this window ledge, you know, and for kids especially, and it's a health and safety issue. So to remove the combustible chairs. That's one of our protected corridors along there. Very similar to a hotel room. You have your cross corridor doors, emergency lighting, exit signs, and that. When we done our inspection, they had some bins here, combustible bins. You know, the big black bins, and they were throwing the rubbish into them there on the protected corridors, which is fine. They were all nice and tidy and everything. But from a fire point of view, it's a no-no to have combustible materials in your protected corridors. Also, in the reception here, there was a requirement on the fire safety certificate to have this glazing, 30-minute fire resistance in terms of integrity and insulation to BS 476, and there was no certification provided for this. It looked like normal 4mm glazing, so they have to look at that again and either take it out and put in 30-minute fire resistant glazing, or else remove it completely. Exit signs, they were poorly, you can see where it is up at the very top, poorly located. You come down the stairs, you're turning left, so probably the exit sign should be going the other direction. Things like that as well, we found. Outside the building then, we had the designated on-site car parking, disabled. You can see where it's located there, 2 or 3 of them there at the very far end of the car park. So you couldn't find worse. And part of the DAC then now we're looking at moving it from down there in that location to providing well, we'll see how many require 5% up here where that Jeep is parked. So you have level access there from then straight into your building. The other thing we found there, you can see that barrier there as you enter into the site, the industrial estate. There's units over here, and they decided to put a barrier up to keep out people that didn't want in there. So from a fire safety point of view, they had a padlock on it, so we can't get any of our fire brigade vehicle access in there. So I got on to a company who put them on here, the facilities manager for the industrial estate. So he's now removed the padlock off them. So we've vehicle access right into the front of the building. So I suppose things that we've learned from it is to have early engagement, I suppose, with the technical, the assigned certifiers, the builders, and the owners. Because if we were out there at an early stage, we'd have spotted a lot of them during construction. So it's one thing that I suppose with our increase in staffing now at Mayo, we're getting out much earlier on site and getting good communications as well with all the assign certifiers, builders, etc. The other thing, recently we've got building control in under the Chief Fire Officer, Mayor Tony Shevlin. So it means now that we're all working as the one team in under the one house, which is great benefits because we can share information with fire prevention, building control, and the operational side as well, because they're the guys going out, say, to the fires. And if they don't have the information that we have, say, for the prevention side, the fire search, the DAC, where the hydrants are located, the risks when they get to the building. So we're looking at pre-incident planning for these type of buildings because they're high risk. So when they get a call out to they have it on their laptop, they have the plans, they know exactly where the high risk areas are, where the say most fires, a lot of the fires in these type of buildings start in the laundry rooms, the kitchens, protected corridors. So they have it on their laptop. They have all the information. They have the contact details, who to ring when they get on site. The good thing about this site is that it's manned 24-hour. They have 24-hour reception security on the site. So it means that with somebody there alert at all times if there is an issue. We've a number of these in the last couple of months as well that have came in to Mayo, smaller sites than this one, where developers are I suppose, I suppose developers are looking at buying these buildings and getting in not just Ukrainians, but refugees from all over the world. So where we started doing in a risk-based inspection on them type of buildings. So that's the progress in Mayo. So I'd like to thank you very much and hand you over to Richard.